I was sitting in the traffic one dismal morning and I realized something was missing in my life. It's important to dream. I'm your average 9-to-5 guy in the rat race, and understood even if you win the race, you are still a rat. The dream of escaping presented itself in the form of an adventure in Dar es Salaam. When we arrived, we were quite amazed to see how tropical it was. We had just come from Cape Town. It was cold, it was winter, and arrived in this exotic port with both modern and ancient boats and our prize, Finnegan.
There's it right there in the front.
The original owner needed to sell her, and I happened to hear about it. The rigging wasn't in the best of shape, so we got some specialists to sort it out. It's quite amazing when you desire something, when you really want something, how the opportunity presents itself.
They actually repair their sails with food aid bags, and it's the only material they've got available that's plentiful. They cut them up and repair the sails. In fact, you find sails that are completely made out of food aid bags. Amazing. Ciao, Bakalele! Harcourt! Ciao, Bello!
Having established ourselves on board, we ran into the seasoned sailor, and he explained to us that Finnegan, or Finnegan's Law, is associated with Murphy's Law, but only 100 times worse. This warning should have made us think twice, but our dream was too powerful. The first leg of our adventure took us from Dar es Salaam to the Spice Island of Zanzibar. We assumed this would be the most difficult part of our trip. We would be sailing against the South Equatorial Current and the Northwest Monsoon.
Here we go. Under sail, full sail, hand steering. Come all this way just to do this. What a pleasure. About 10-12 knots of breeze, the wind's warm, sea's warm, skies are lifting, spirits are lifting. It feels good. It feels really good. So maybe 2 knots, 2.5 knots of current. Shallow, it's about 16 meters deep. Hopefully we can catch some fish. Nice kingfish would be nice for lunch at anchorage under a palm tree. No. Whistling's taboo. You whistle up a storm. If you want wind, you got to get a virgin scratching the mast. But no whistling. No rabbit. Oop, you're not even allowed to say the word. None of those things with long ears. And no priests. It's another thing you're not allowed on a boat. It's all superstition. And when you're at sea, you follow. Just maybe, you never know.
If you see a red-haired woman and you don't greet her first, make sure you cancel your trip.
Okay, he's going to see the boat. Sean, can you get the gap out there? I'm going to bring him around here.
There's a famous story about a single-handed sailor who caught a fish when a storm was bearing down on him. He subsequently let the fish go and the storm turned away. Never eat your first fish.
Here we go. Mackerel steaks with a little bit of chili, I think. Whew, nice fish.
Right, we've got a bit of a fish starter here. The Spanish mackerel we caught earlier this morning. just cut off a few choice bits. We're soaking it here in lemon juice, finely chopped habanero chilies. As soon as we get into mooring, we'll throw it on the back of the braai, have it like a fish braai.
Fingo, the fish, once we catch a fish, we don't try and catch any more, we just fish for the pot. We don't take anything else out. As soon as this fish was landed, we took all our lines in, and it's quite important to us that. Find a bit of chili, bit of garlic, bit of onions, fish a la Finnegan. What can I say? Okay, I hope you're picking this up, but last night we anchored above this wreck beneath us, and it's uncharted, probably about 2.5 meters below us, a meter below the keel, I'd say. So it's quite a hazard for navigation, just another little challenge for us.
I just went forward to free the anchor, and stepped backwards and hit the windlass button. I've got my thumb jammed between the anchor chain and the casing on the windlass.
I know it's not funny, but it's just part of it.
The challenges of our adventure didn't stop there.
Is there a lot more water coming through there? Muni worry here. Don't worry. We might have to put Sean on the bilge pump the whole night. You know what they say the best bilge pump is? A scared man in a bucket.
Maybe eating that fish wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah.
You sure it's the first round soaking pot?
Yeah. Just watch it, okay?
Yeah.
The shackle was fatigued and broke. So Sean actually had to go up the mast and retrieve it. One mistake here and he's gone.
When you get to the top, it's sort of whipping. You tend to cling on like a koala bear.
Yeah.
I'd love to come down if I can.
Okay, what's happened is the seawater strainer O-ring is blown. So it's sucking air instead of water into the motor, and that's why it's overheating. Our rubber is kept in the first aid kit. It's a couple of spares. Now we've got to take it off, make an O-ring somehow out of your wetsuit, and repair it. You know how much I hate tools, especially now. That's our problem. I hate tools.
Piece of rubber and you lose the engine.
That's it. Okay, well I suppose this is the only way to come into Zanzibar. No motor, motor's overheated, under sail, like they did 200 years ago and previous to that. Okay, well here we're approaching Stone Town now, and over there we see the Sultan's Palace. The Sultan of Oman is the old fort. Yeah, we're back on dry land, beautiful sunset. I believe Finnegan's slowly starting to work with us. I felt it today. She's starting to give us, possibly she's testing us, but we'll enjoy a cold beer, watch the sunset, and back to work.
The famous Freddie Mercury was born in Stone Town and built sandcastles on this beach.
No, cheers, Sean. Well done, man. Good voyage.
We finally established what was wrong with Finnegan. We knew we couldn't make the part ourselves and would have to find the part somewhere in Stone Town. After a while of wandering around, we realized we were hopelessly lost. So we decided to look for the tallest building to get our bearings. This happened to be a hotel.
This is the only hotel.
We don't want a room, we just want to go up for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's the one. This is the only hotel we can get.
Past the old fort there, you can see the flags on top of it, and to the International Hotel. Through there's the market down there.
Gazing out into the maze of Stone Town, our task seemed impossible. The sights and sounds, the colors, the characters made the task of us finding our path really exciting.
No, boxing, no, nothing on rugby. All right, thank you.
No rugby.
No rugby.
In the same breath, we had to provision with fresh fruit and vegetables. And of course, the famous spices of Zanzibar.
500 for so much saffron, that's what? That's 50 American cents.
The most amazing thing I found about Stone Town were its people. Stone Town itself is a melting pot of different cultures.
Imaginable good.
It's a whole little world in one. We found, of course, the African influence. We found the Middle Eastern influence. We found Eastern influence. And in some places, we also found the Western influence.
When I look at this, I feel they're simple folk. They're fishermen and traders, but the impression I get is that they enjoy their life.
A sign of things to come, perhaps.
Come on, go up the ball.
Even taking a casual walk is a fascinating experience.
Dead end. Oh, there's a dead end. It's little, opens up onto a little square. Nothing else from there.
Finally, looks like we're getting somewhere.
I wonder if they've got cutlass bearings for a prop shaft here. That would be quite handy, but
We are very lucky eventually to find somebody that could help us with the parts.
Hello, just sleeping now.
Yeah, lunch.
Wake up.
Yeah. Jumbo,
Jumbo.
Abari, my friend all the house. Okay?
Okay.
Mambo Mazuri, pork.
Okay, bye.
He wouldn't accept cash, but insisted on a trade for some tools.
Hey, not you.
Maybe I'll come back a little bit later.
There are motorboats. However, the majority of the boats they use to support the industry, whether it be fishing or trading, are sailing dhows. And they've been doing it this way for hundreds of years.
Looks like we fixed it. The motor seems fine. We're lucky we didn't blow the motor. A little bit of white smoke, but it's an old motor. I'm quite happy. You can give this to Njiti. Okay, this is a present for him as well. Thank you.
Oh well, there go our spare tools in trade for our parts. Although our stay in Stone Town was brief, I'm gonna miss it.
Cheers, Zanzibar. Arrivederci.
It is almost as if the more we progressed in our adventure, the more we regressed in time. And here we come across these ancient sailing dhows, trading in all types of goods. Some of them were even carrying cement.
Two things that worry me. One is the rolling of the anchorage with the south wind with a northeasterly swell. And number two, bandits.
If you had to imagine all the things that possibly could go wrong on a sailboat, you wouldn't go sailing. However, it's good to be prudent and to prepare for all eventualities. The next leg of our journey took us from Stone Town to Kilondoni on Mafia Island. Stepping ashore on Kilondoni was a totally different experience to Stone Town. It was a small village. There were no hospitals, there were no police stations. It was a very basic infrastructure. Being a village, it was actually quite amazing to see how much variety they had. Although I think their main source of income is derived from fishing. One of the reasons why we decided to stop off on Mafia Island was we had learned that it was being rejuvenated as a marine and forest reserve. So our intention was to get away from the hustle and bustle of places like Stone Town and experience a more natural environment.
Hell of an experience, a very scary experience. Caused from a simple short, unbelievable. It's a small little wire, we're sitting here having dinner. Next minute smoke's pouring out the engine compartment, opened up and there's a fire. Of course all of us were running in different directions. Got hold of the fire extinguisher, put out the fire, you can see the powder on the floor where everyone was running around in circles. Dave the cameraman ran outside to get a bucket of water. But not a very pleasant experience.
However, we were lucky enough to be on board. If we were on shore and the fire started, we would have lost the boat. There's always a positive and negative side to any situation. And on this trip, we always chose to be optimistic. From Kilondoni, we headed further south to Kilwa on the mainland.
Where's this boat going?
They put money.
It's a little bit run down, but interesting. Okay, then we want to buy some tomatoes and some onions, maybe vegetables. Bananas, yes.
Picking too small, not too well, maybe.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
As we headed further south, we found the people became friendlier and more helpful. It was quite an interesting phenomenon and quite unexplainable. Kilwa historically was one of the most powerful towns on the east coast of Africa. It was a major distribution point for the gold and ivory trade from Africa. The further we traveled away from Dar es Salaam and Stone Town on Zanzibar, we found basic commodities like food, diesel, and clean water more and more difficult to find.
Once upon a time,
This castle on Kilwa is extremely old. It was originally built by the Arab traders and later taken over by the Portuguese. Amazing, eh? That they used the coral to build this thing. Calamari, tentacles in oil. Another one for Floyd. More, eh? We ready for our next leg, further down south to Lindy. Here we go. Leaving Kilwa, we headed south for Lindy, also on the mainland. At times sailing down the coast, we were approximately 20 to 30 miles offshore and would come across these fishermen in totally unseaworthy craft. It was disheartening because we assumed that they were being forced to fish further and further out to sea.
Catch any big one?
Pogo! 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 Não consegui nada! É pouco!
See? Yo, no, this is fresh. This is a barracuda. Tangezi, eh? No, there's some nice meat on here. Check Sean, it's nice and white. Num num. Num num. The local fishermen, fortunate enough to catch their fish close to shore, were willing to trade their fish for anything except cash. Cash meant nothing to them. It was irrelevant.
What's your name? What's your name? Come. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
They were very pleased to see us. They were keen to establish some form of contact, whether it be trade, whether it be just to share a laugh, whether it be to have a word or two. It was amazing.
Hello. Jambo. What you want? Sweets?
It was also amazing how excited all the kids got when we brought out sweets. They had no access to sweets, there were no shops around. And so sweets were a luxury.
Okay. Okay, hop.
¿Cuánto cuesta una persona casi?
Mucho problema porque no meti cash, ¿ah? Meti cash, no. Trouser, sí.
¿Qué me trouser?
He wants pants.
They take rent.
This one. This one for señorita. Señorita, can you look? Señor.
Take it.
Sí,
Try to me now as you bring it up. Right? Not too close. Just go back and say, look what you got.
Okay, Barracuda. Check it out. Nice for 2 pairs of shorts and a little lady's top.
Hold it a bit higher, right? Yeah, that's
Okay.
In the organizational stages of our adventure, we realized that we'd have the opportunity to trade, and especially trade in clothes. So we had Jackie, who is Dave, the cameraman's wife, pack us a bag of clothes for this purpose. When we got to open this bag, it was full of women's clothes.
Come sta? Male. Tutto bom? Non problema. Sì, ok. Baby.
Some of the smaller islands we came across off the mainland had no fresh water. So the inhabitants were forced to sail in their dhows across to the mainland, fill all sorts of containers up with water, bring them all the way back and safeguard these containers. Water is extremely precious to them.
My brother.
Hello, brother.
Kamusta my brother?
Bondi. That's all. I'm English. Papa.
Hey.
Papa.
There's no way whatsoever to preserve the catch, so they forced traditionally to dry their fish. And in the process of drying these coral fish, they smoke them to give them a little bit of flavor. It was also quite amazing to see how some of them caught their fish. They actually spearfished for them. They used homemade equipment, which involved spear guns that they had made themselves. It involved pieces of pipe that they used for snorkels. And they were unbelievable spear fishermen.
Well, that little baby she's full of tropical ulcers. She must have been bitten by mosquitoes or something and it all became infected and she's... I mean, it's such an easy thing to fix, but We've got antibiotic powder there that we're going to try and get her, but the little baby is full of tropical ulcers. It's really amazing how friendly they are. It's incredible. I mean, the feeling between these people and the people up from further north in Tanzania is completely different, and we're only separated by 50 miles. It's unbelievable. The rugby, my friends. The rugby's the big thing. It's the Tri-Nation Finals, South Africa, yeah, and Australia. So everything's going to come to a stop because that's priority number one. If the boat sinks while we're there, so be it. But the rugby is priority.
We had heard a small resort had a television set, but this was back north. So we turned around against the current, against the wind, to watch the 2004 final. Once South Africa had won the final, we headed south again for Mananzi Bay. Our staple diet consisted mainly of pasta and rice, and we were always attempting to catch an additional fish to add some variety. However, we stayed away from the coral fish because we thought they were too pretty.
Big one, George.
We had no fridge or freezer on the boat, so there was no way for us to store any luxuries like meat, bread for that matter. And every day we dreamt of luxurious meals. Even a hamburger would have been great.
I'm gonna have to get him onto the boat. Oh, it's a big boy.
You want me to try and hook him in the gill? Just gently.
Okay, Sean, you got it. Yeah, I think we're going to have to, eh?
At the moment, it's very, very hot. 33, 34 degrees. So everyone's finding some shade. And we've got a motor because there's no wind.
We came across a Belgian who was one of the only Europeans we met on the whole trip.
Bonjour, voilà, je m'appelle Jean-Marie Leclément de Saint-Marc, je suis de nationalité belge. This place is very good place for turtles. The turtles come here for children, turtle, in my plot. Donc c'est very important in the sand, yes, now. Donc so many turtles. Every days I go for fishing. Every days to look turtles, big marine turtles. Donc it's a very good place. It's good also for whales. Every year the whales come from South Africa, come here for the children.
There we go. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay. For home video. Yeah, this is an amazing place. Incredible. The people are really fair and friendly. Immigration officers, very easy going. The scuba diving is good. Nice place, nice anchorage. Really nice place. Mananzi Bay in southern Tanzania.
Our experience down the coast was that all the fishermen were men. In this particular instance, we saw women fishing, which was really strange. And their method of fishing was totally different to that of the men. They would walk into the water fully clothed, splashing and shouting, scaring all the fish into the nets. Further south, a mishap at Ila Misalau.
Well, it's an interesting angle, as you can see. Tidal range here is about 3.5 meters, and we anchored at high tide. And of course the tide's gone out, and we're lying on the side. Yeah, look at the angle of the water, it's quite strange.
Miscalculating the tide, we leant over, and fortunately we missed a sharp coral head. However, it gave us the opportunity to inspect the bottom of the hull, which we never had before.
A little bit uncomfortable to sleep, but otherwise everything's okay.
If we had damaged the boat, we might have still been there. There's no rescue, there's no assistance. But the sea came to our rescue in the form of a high tide and carried us off, heading south through the archipelago of islands in northern Mozambique. We stopped off in places like Vilanculos and Ilha de Ibo.
Yeah, well, we've cooked the motor now. The motor's finished. We had a heat seize, as we knew would happen due to the lack of cooling water running through it, and we're now forced to sail into Mtwara Harbour on the Tanzanian coast through the reefs. At this time of night, pretty difficult because we can't see the reefs at all, and we've got no motor, so it's quite a challenge.
It's amazing. Our exhaust broke and we had to find a place that could weld it. So we searched high and low and came across a small little mechanical shop. They could weld.
When they applied the heat to take this manifold off, or the actual exhaust off, cracked the exhaust, so they had to weld it, and the welding leaves much to be desired. It's not very good.
The further south we got, we started once again to experience more civilization. We started experiencing more schools, places with more shops, and it made us realize that we were coming close to the end of our adventure. The way they make silver in some of these areas, or in this particular area, is an ancient art. They still use fire and old bellows, and they use lemon to clean the silver.
Usikia nikamba pia vi nofinitenda na alikati iwapo pisa ile pare titula vinu vitinda titula hapa vitenda titula hapa zamu pungapatire zamu participate kinu na venu kwa usini define vinu vya mko kwa pia
ngai dancing sagas maja ashibubutela
We came across people that we had no idea what they did for a living. We knew they weren't fishermen because they weren't fishing. We knew that they weren't workmen because they weren't working. Who knows what they did?
Cafe, 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 cafe.
It constantly amazed us how full of life the sea was. It was teeming with fish. Beautiful dorado, tuna, barracuda. It's a fisherman's haven. It really is.
Am I getting through? Am I nearly there? Oh, still miles away.
We managed to catch what I believe is one of the most beautiful fish in the ocean, commonly known as the dolphin fish or dorado.
Just watch, grab him by the gill, eh? You want pliers?
We decided to let it go because number one, it was so beautiful, and number two, it was too big for the three of us to eat. My experience of this trip is twofold. Firstly, how the Africans have mastered time, whereas in our circumstances, time has mastered us. In the first instance, you live a totally free life. However, you live day to day and you live hand to mouth. In the second instance, there are advantages. You have your luxuries, you have security, but you become a slave to the system. But I think to really appreciate the one way of life, you must know the other.
Mama kule so una kule so mama kule lola dure una kule so mama kule Hola,
Thank you. My brother.
I'm living here in the Igbo. I'm from Igbo.
What do you do?
I'm making processing place. Yes, for the seafood. Seafood.
Tomatoes, possibly. Onions.
That's okay. This place that I'm going to show you to change the money. It's a market. A small shop.
Okay.
Muorta, wankusakula tomati. Wankusakula tomati fresh ku. This is a good boy.
Yeah, he's a very good guy.
Yeah.
How much? About $7. 50 rand. I can buy that cooked already in the restaurant. Yeah, sure.
It's not hangover, sir.
Apparently it's very good hangover remedy.
So in order to really appreciate the coconut milk, we had to go out and get a hangover.
Well done.
Very good.
Banashaw, sir. Banashaw.
What's your name?
How did you go? How did you go?
David.
David.
Sí.
Good for hangover, Sean.
I need it then.
So, Jumbo.
Yes.
Obrigado. Obrigado. Hey.
Una colessa macolele oye. Una colessone.
Bye bye, David.
Ciao, David.
Ciao, David.
Una colessona
The one thing I've realized is firstly, it's important to dream. Because once you have your dream, you're halfway there. Secondly, whatever you set out to achieve, you must realize it's possible. See all the obstacles of achieving your dream as challenges. These challenges might be dangerous, but in the end, it teaches you to appreciate your life more and to live life more in the moment than in the future. My dream was to have an adventure, in which I did. Your dream might not be the same as mine, but you can have it too.
What is it? Oh, it's my t-shirt. Oh, hell. I'm just giving it a wash. I want to get you a bit excited.
I'm making processing plant.
Yes.
For the seafood.
I don't know.
My name is Blaise. I'm working in prawns.
Yes.
And everything is fish and shellfish.
See the water, bro. I was not shying away from the water.